how do you as a consultant communicate the dollar value of your design?
The first thing I would say is take the step of connecting UX work and UX metrics to business metrics. So what I mean by this is things like conversion rate and task completion rate and error rate. Obviously, these are critical and super important metrics, and we should have our eye on them. However, we need to take one step further and translate that into a business metric, like a dollar value. Ideally, if you were in-house, for example, and you had made some change to a flow, you could then work with your internal accounting team and understand, was there actually an uptick in revenue? What did that really look like off the back of an increase in conversion rate? But even if you don't have the exact figure, if you have a sense of average order value, you can do that maths yourself. So you can just say like the increase in task completion rate was 3%. We know that was approximately 30,000 customers. Our average order value is $100. Therefore, that's an increase in $3 million. Amazing, right? And I feel like UX folks get really focused in our org. And I would actually say like this is very common in like the tech part of a lot of businesses, can become kind of insular and forget about the business side of a lot of these organizations. And for so many of them, the business side can be like bigger than the tech side, be incredibly influential. And I'm a real advocate of like building those bridges between both sides of the organization. And I think a lot of my work in my consulting life was with business sides of organization rather than tech. And I think we just shouldn't be scared of like taking that step and building that bridge and using those kind of dollar value metrics.
How has that helped you joining like a product company from a consulting background? Was it just immediately really obvious when you joined a team and you're like, am I the only one that cares about these things? Was that a beneficial thing for your career? Like, how did you feel joining like a grad or something?
Yeah, I think like whenever you join an organization, there's this process of feeling out where you're different and how valuable that difference is. Because you want to be part of the team, you want to make sure you've got your bases covered in terms of your core competencies. But I think particularly as you get more senior, you really need to lean into what's your point of difference that's going to make you shine and is going to make someone want to take a bet on you, want to promote you, want to see you as a leader. And I started to realize that my background is not super typical necessarily of someone in research, that most folks haven't had the experiences I've had, haven't been embedded in teams full of MBAs in the same way that I had. And I started to kind of think about this. I gave a talk at a conference at the end of 2022, and it was the first time I'd done a little bit of this kind of maths where I tried to put a dollar value on customer frustration, I guess. Like if you have an interface that's really, really rubbish and it takes your customers outlandish, like an hour every day to do the updating of like their inventory or something for like a B2B e-commerce software, we can calculate how much that's actually costing our clients. You say, okay, if their average wage is like $20 per hour and it takes them 1 hour a day, so it's like 5 hours a week, 5 times 20, that's 100 a week. If we have however many customers, we can calculate per week, we're essentially costing our customers $10,000, $100,000, $1 million across our entire customer base. In their time. Time is money. And that was kind of the first time I did it. And I like dwelled on this, thought about it, whatever. And then I had a couple of other like moments internally. Other ideas kind of came to me. But honestly, I really only sat down and started like putting all of my thoughts out there into the world when I went really hard on LinkedIn. July, August last year, I started to really write a lot on LinkedIn, including about this methodology, and just got a pretty interesting response from it that has inspired me to keep going.
This, I'm guessing, would be something that comes up in your pitch as Rex, right? This is potentially how much our agency could save you, or have you been measuring these? Let's figure out how much money you can actually get back for your business through our services.
Yeah, like it definitely can be a conversation like to have with clients, and I think can manifest in a couple of different ways, right? Like some people just want to learn the methodology. And so some teams are just really keen to be like upskilled in this kind of style of thinking because it is very unusual, I think, to a lot of us in UX. And some of it can feel uncomfortable. It's a different way of thinking about emotions sometimes. And it's just like a tool that we can have in our toolbox, I think, to start having these conversations. So I think like similarly with clients, you can go in and start having these conversations with them. And there's a comment here about, isn't the metric only gained after deployment? So you can only generate the quote after you finish the project. So how do you actually like backwards engineer and work that out? The answer is like, you can sometimes still get to a figure. Last year, my husband actually was going to like book some flights online and he got like stuck in the process of searching a quote. So with this airline, you had to make an account and a login before you could see the results of your search. And he just sent this to me being like, oh, this is so annoying. And I was like, this is costing them money. And I sat down, right, and did all of the maths on my best estimate of how much money this UX moment was costing this organization. And like, I know nothing about this company. I use all publicly available data, and it's still possible to come up with an estimate. You can still do it in some instances where the UX is like particularly egregious. You can still kind of form an opinion on it. But I would say, like, in the world of consulting, it can be difficult to contract based on outcomes that you do not get control over every step in that value chain. So what I mean by this is, if I'm coming in with research, if I'm coming in with UX, I'm then not doing deployment. I'm not doing the engineering. I'm not doing the coding. I'm not doing the QA. I'm not necessarily even doing the pricing, right? Like, pricing strategy is a whole different ballgame. So the ability as an external person sometimes to connect down every single part of that value chain, that can be challenging, like, not gonna lie. So I think that's also really something to keep in mind when we talk about it. Like, how are you entering into this conversation with a client? Are you saying UX is extremely valuable? Here's how it can be valuable to your organization. Or are you saying you should pay me this based on these results? And those are actually like very different conversations. You need to have some mindfulness about how you're conducting that.
It basically influences a lot of the organization, which is outside your control. So if you are doing outcome-based, make sure that you're shipping the product too, right? There's like things that you put in place that is accurate enough so you get rewarded. I would like for us to move on to our next topic, which is...
Want to listen to the full conversation? Click the video on screen now. Subscribe to the channel if you want to join us live. Oh, wait. Okay, fine, you don't have to join us for the live stream, but if you like stuff like this, then click that subscribe button. I'll see you on the inside. Bye!